Today's parents are wary of the so-called heavy metal music.
Salut à tous, METALXS, c'est l'essentiel de l'actualité métal et dérivé en quelques minutes, le tout en images, en musique et en interview. METALXS est une exclusivité Refix by Crédit Mutuel, la plateforme de toutes les musiques, tous les talents en partenariat avec Artforce. C'est parti! Vous avez sans doute remarqué combien on utilise le terme iconique à tout bout de champ ces derniers temps pour qualifier tout et n'importe qui. Et pourtant, s'il y en a un qui mérite cette appellation, c'est bien Zakk Wylde. Sa silhouette massive, sa barbe imposante, son attitude sur scène reconnaissable entre mille, son jeu et ses riffs, sa prolifique discographie depuis ses débuts en 1988 aux côtés d'Ozzy Osbourne, et même son humour sur les réseaux. Oui, Zakk Wylde est un pur guitar hero, dans la plus grande tradition. Et oui, c'est une icône du métal qui a déjà, de son vivant, été sacralisé comme personnage dans le célèbre jeu de guitare virtuelle. Zakk Wylde n'est pas de retour. Sous les plus gros projecteurs ou dans un cadre plus intimiste, il est toujours là. Doublure respectueuse de Dimebag Darrell, dont le Pantera 2.0, soutien indéfectible d'Ozzy en toute occasion, à commencer ou finir par l'ultime concert de Black Sabbath et du Madman qui aura lieu à Birmingham en juillet prochain. Il trouve encore le temps de sortir de la musique avec Black Label Society ou de faire une tournée avec Zakk Sabbath, célébration sauvage et électrique de l'héritage des fondateurs du heavy metal. Un artiste prolifique, l'hommage du regard toujours tourné vers le passé, mais les pieds bien ancrés dans le présent. Pour son second passage à Paris en un mois, il nous a accordé dans METALXS une interview tout à fait exceptionnelle.
So come on down!
Alors, comment se déroule la tournée Zakk Sabbath jusqu'à présent?
It's just miserable. We're just, everybody hates each other, you know. So it's par for the course. They all hate me, I hate them, you know, so we don't like each other, but, you know, we just do this because we love Black Sabbath. So carry on, next question.
Le groupe était à Birmingham la semaine dernière. Est-ce toujours un moment particulier de jouer là-bas?
Without a doubt, well, you got Sabbath and Dorian Yates. So, you know, my favorite bodybuilder and my favorite band, you know. So, yeah, no, Birmingham's great. We always have it. Every time we play there, it's always a blast. Of course, how could it not be, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, you have all the Birmingham berserkers. So, it was a great night, always.
Au-delà de l'admiration inconditionnelle qui le porte à Black Sabbath, quel a été le déclic qui l'a poussé à monter un véritable groupe hommage à la légende du heavy metal?
Well, it actually started with me and Blasco when we were doing the Metal All-Stars. So what would happen is whenever we'd get together, there would always be another drummer that we would play when we would get together to do the things. So what would always happen is, you know, it's just like whoever the drummer was going to be at the time is like, ask Frank if he knows how to play, you know, because if you were a classical musician, you would know part of your education is Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart. You would know something by all three of them because it's part of your learning process, you know. So as far as playing rock, it would be Sabbath, Zeppelin, and Deep Purple, you know, where you could just go, ask Frank if he knows how to play, you know, a song by any of them, you know what I mean? So it always would come about, you know, ask him if he knows how to play, if he knows Fairies Wear Boots, War Pigs, and NIB or something like that, and it would be like, yeah, I know those. So it would always end up being the Sabbath set, so the whole thing is for the 3 songs we were going to do. So then Blasco just made a joke going, oh, you want to just do the Zakk Sabbath set? So I was like, all right, we'll just do that, you know, and then that was the running joke. So So it started as that, and then it turned into what it is now. I've been playing these songs since I've been, 16 years old? You know, at keg parties, people's kitchens, people's living rooms, you know, when we were back in high school. So nothing's really changed. It's still War Pigs, NIB, and Fairies Wear Boots, except now there's a couple more people at the party. So, and there's still kegs everywhere. So yeah, it's great.
Se souvient-il du moment précis où il est tombé amoureux de Black Sabbath?
Yeah, I remember I probably was about 11 years old, and I was in art class, and I saw the sculpture of, and it was, you know, it was a jawless skull, pretty much like with Black Label Society, with Scully, the jawless skull. So I was just like, oh, well, what is that? It had a lightning bolt going through, and it said Black Sabbath 666. I was like, oh, wow, what is that? And he goes, oh, it's just this band my brother listens to, you know, my older brother listens to. I was like, oh, I never heard Black Sabbath or anything, because I was listening to Elton John at the time, and, you know, AM radio, you know, what top 40 radio. So what I remember, the first Sabbath album I got was We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll. And I remember, you know, with the woman, you know, in the casket and everything, and putting the record, I was like beyond terrified when I first started, you know, hearing this Black Sabbath song, right, because it was greatest hits. But no, from hearing it then, and it was just the more and more I listened to it, I just loved it, you know. So every day after coming home from school, I'd put my Sabbath on and my Elton John record. It was just like, this is awesome.
À cette époque, dans les années 80, Black Sabbath était beaucoup moins populaire qu'il ne l'est devenu par la suite.
Well, I mean, it is weird. I remember Dana Strum telling me, he was like, Zakk, he goes, you know how you guys all love Sabbath now, and everybody's all about, pays homage to like Sabbath, and, you know, Sabbath this, Sabbath that. He goes, back when it was going on, Zakk, it wasn't like this, you know. And I was like, oh, wow, you know, because obviously I didn't know, you know what I mean, from the 70s and everything. He goes, yeah, Zakk, I lived through it. He goes, Sabbath's way more, like, people are way more respect their greatness now, as opposed to when it was actually going on, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know, I just figured everybody loved Black Sabbath, you know what I mean? And Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple, and, you know, I mean, it's just like, how could you not? It's great. So, but yeah, he said, I remember Dana telling me, he goes, no, it wasn't like that, Zakk. Not like it is today.
Une phrase célèbre imprimée sur des t-shirts dit « Je n'ai confiance qu'en moi-même » et dans les 6 premiers albums de Black Sabbath. Le répertoire de Zakk Sabbath tourne principalement autour des albums Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Master of Reality et Volume 4. Y a-t-il moins d'intérêt à jouer des titres de la période 1973-1977 comme Sabbath Bloody Sabbath ou Sabotage?
Yeah, we'll play, I mean, eventually we're going to obviously play all of it, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I still love Technical Ecstasy, and I love Never Say Die. You know, I think those are both great records too. But I mean, you know, I remember running joke. Ozzy was sitting there. I think I was listening to Never Say Die one day back when I first joined the band. He goes, Zakk, you like that? I go, I think this album's great, right? And he just goes, Ozzy goes, that album, you know how albums go gold and platinum? Ozzy goes, yeah. That album didn't even go tin. You know, I was like, well, I like it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, Ozzy's hilarious. But, yeah, I still love those, you know, because I know that shirt, you know, the first 6 Sabbath records, I like all 8 of them, you know what I mean?
D'ailleurs, existe-t-il une chance que Zakk Sabbath enregistre l'intégralité de Volume 4?
Yeah, eventually we'll get around to all of them. I mean, obviously we did the first album, we did Paranoid and Master Reality. Now the next one would be Volume 4. I love the first review when we did the first album, though. It said, Zakk Sabbath records the first album of Black Sabbath in its entirety. why? I gotta be honest, I said the same thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, well, I mean, we'll get around to, we're gonna record all of them. Yeah, totally.
Il entretient une relation très proche avec Ozzy Osbourne, presque comme un père et son fils. Une situation incroyable quand on sait qu'il en a été fan avant même de collaborer avec lui pendant 35 ans. Mais a-t-il aussi reçu la bénédiction de Tony Iommi pour jouer ses riffs et perpétuer son art à sa manière?
I think I know with Oz, I mean, he thinks it's friggin' hilarious. Him and Mom, you know what I mean, with Sharon. It's just like, yeah, totally. But, no, Tony knows I'm a huge, Lord Iommi disciple, and Geezer, I love Geezer and his genius and his amazing lyrics and everything like that. So, and Bill, I actually, for the 14-year-old me, where I actually got to, I remember at one night when we were doing Irvine Meadows, it was Bill, Geezer, and Ozzy at Soundcheck singing, and I was like the contest winner, and I got a chance to sit in with Black Sabbath, you know what I mean, and played Lord Iommi's riffs, so yeah, that was a pretty surreal moment, you know what I mean, in my musical career. But I was just like that the whole time I played. I'm like thinking of the 14-year-old me with the posters on the wall, which I still have them on the wall in the Vatican right now. But yeah, they're my musical heroes for sure.
Il y a moins d'un mois, on a pu le voir sur une autre scène parisienne avec Pantera. Il s'est peu exprimé depuis le début du projet. Comment a-t-il vécu, soir après soir, le fait de jouer ces morceaux cultes?
It's an honor to be up there and to pay tribute to Vinny and Dime every night. I'm truly blessed. And and Phil and Rex and Charlie, it's just, I'm truly honored to be up there with the guys every night, so, and it's a beautiful thing, because you just see everybody out there, for the Pantera faithful, taking a walk down memory lane, who saw Pantera back in the day and saw them in clubs when they were playing in front of 8 people, and then now and seeing all the young, the new generation that never got a chance to see them, so, and to hear their what they wrote come to life again. So yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing. Every night, I'm truly blessed, man.
Cette reformation de Pantera était un rêve de fans et de journalistes depuis des années. A-t-il senti cette attente grandir au fil du temps?
Well, what we spoke, I just always told the guys, whenever there was conversations around about it before Vinny passed away, I said, guys, if you ever need me to do, I'll support you guys, and I love you guys. Whatever you need me to do, if you just let me know. If you ever want to do it, of course I'll do it. It's just like, if I always look at it as like Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding calling up Eric Clapton and going, Eric, we're going to go out and celebrate Jimmy's life. Would you sing and play Jimmy's stuff? Of course he would do it, because Jimmy was his buddy. So I've always approached it that way.
Il vient de fêter ses 58 ans et il est partout cette année, plus que jamais. La tournée avec Zakk Sabbath, l'Europe et les États-Unis cet été avec Pantera et la sortie d'un nouveau single sous le nom de Black Label Society. Comment gère-t-il un emploi du temps aussi chargé?
Because my wife likes to, buy shoes and short-ass jeans and candy shoes, and I got to take her out for a slice of pizza and a soda pop every now and then, so. The girls don't like to be disappointed. And she ended up here, though. So what can I tell you? No, I love it, man. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I always tell, even with my kids, or when anybody asks, Zakk, you got any advice for my son or my daughter? I'm like, yeah, do what you love. You know what I mean? And if you're a musician, like you said, if I wasn't blessed to have Ozzy in my life to be where I'm at right now, and then the Pantera celebration, and everything like that, and our Black Label family and Zakk Sabbath, and you know, experienced Hendrix family, the whole 9 yards. Me and JD always talk about it. I go, if I wasn't blessed to have where I'm at right now, me and JD would own a music store, we would teach, we'd have a cover band, we'd probably have our Zakk Sabbath, you know, tribute band, we'd have a wedding band, but everything would revolve around music. You know what I mean? I think that's, I mean, all my musician friends that I know, they're just lifers. It's not just a passing phase, it's part of who you are. You know what I mean? You're a musician, you play. So that's that.
Ce titre, Lord Humongous, est-il annonciateur d'un futur album de Black Label Society? Cela fait déjà 4 ans depuis Doom Crew Incorporated, une éternité pour les fans, et ce single est si prometteur.
I'm just hoping to get it in the next Mad Max movie, you know what I mean? Or if they re-release the second movie with Lord Humongous in it. No, but, which I've always loved the Mad Max franchise, so, but no, I guess, no, just classic Black Label, us just being you know, what's the video gonna be at? I go, it's gonna be the silliest video we could possibly think of. Actually, not silly, it's actually the most serious video we could think of. But, no, it's just us having a good time with it. But yeah, but that's what the lyrics, the best part is, like, somebody was listening to the song, they go, you don't mention Lord Humongous once in the song. I go, exactly, that's the reason why it's called Lord Humongous.
Après la tournée Pantera cet été, Black Label Society sera-t-il de retour très prochainement?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we're just accumulating songs that are going to be on the record, but the album won't come out until 2026, you know, because I mean, yeah, this whole 2025, I just told, you know, Phil and Rex and Charlie, I said, we're going to do this thing, and then it's all blocked out, you know, and just, you know, just plop in Zakk Sabbath shows while we're out, you know, because obviously we did the last album, we could promote that, you know what I mean, between, you know, Master Reality and the Paranoid album, you know, with the Doom Forever record, but yeah, so I love it, I love what I do.
Beaucoup fantasment aussi sur l'idée d'un nouveau disque de Pantera. Est-ce un sujet qui a été évoqué au sein du groupe?
No, I think what the conversations were, with Rita was talking about, you know, Dime's, her and you know, Rita and Dime together forever. So it was just like Rita brought up the possibility of, like, well, maybe because she has tons of material of Dime just noodling, you know what I mean, on a cassette recorder, just like ideas and riffs and things like that. So it'd be almost kind of like if Jimi Hendrix just had noodling on, like, this song he had, Purple Haze, you know what I mean, and then but he never recorded it properly. But, like, you know, so to have Eric Clapton, Mitch, and Noel go in and record these songs that Jimmy recorded. Another song called Little Wing, and they had another song called Purple Haze, and another one called Manic Depression. You know, that he was just noodling on an acoustic guitar or whatever, you know what I mean, or just a clean electric thing. Just, you know, just noodling the ideas, but it wasn't properly recorded. So it was like that kind of idea, you know what I mean? Just going in and finishing it and playing, but they're Dimes and Vinny's, you know, ideas of but the guys never properly recorded them. So it's not us writing new material, you know, it's material that's already existing.
En parlant de célébration, quelque chose se prépare en juillet près d'un stade à Birmingham. Bien sûr, il ne peut rien révéler sur l'organisation et les surprises prévues, mais que ressent-il à l'approche de cet événement?
Well, yeah, it's going to be awesome. Well, I mean, the game plan is let's hope this is what happens. I mean, you always got to stay on the bright side of life. So the whole thing is, no. I mean, hopefully, because Oz was singing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. He was doing Mama, I'm Coming Home, because Joey Roll wasn't there at the day, you know, when we did the sound check the day before. And Oz was just sitting in the chair and he was singing Mama, I'm Coming Home. It sounded great. So hopefully we'll just do this, and then Oz will go, you want to do another, let's just fire up the machine again and we'll do another tour, you know what I mean? And, you know, with Oz and his throne, it just flies over the stadium and whatever, you know, shoots out buckets of water and does everything like that. So, yeah, I mean, if Oz has a great time or whatever, and it's just like, you know, I want to go out on the road again, it's just like, all right, good, let's do it again. You know, I mean, that's, what else is he going to do? It's like Keith Richards said, he goes, what are you going to retire? He goes, retire from what? Like, if you like reading a book and having a cup of coffee, it's like, why am I retiring from this? I enjoy it. You know, like I play music. I mean, like, what am I retiring from? You know, it's something I enjoy, it's something I love doing, you know, so, yeah, so hopefully that's what happens. Considering all the bands that are on that thing and everybody's going to be playing Sabbath songs, it's going to be pretty mind-blowing. It's going to be pretty awesome. And then to see Oz get up there and then, you know, do a song with him and then watch Sabbath play. I think for all the bands that are going to be there, because we all, if it wasn't for Sabbath, none of us would exist. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be special for everybody.
Un moment qui risque d'être très fort en émotion. Parmi les albums attendus dans les prochains jours, notez sur vos tablettes. Aujourd'hui, lumière sur un groupe qui a su marier science-fiction, épique et rock progressif avec originalité. COHEED and CAMBRIA. Depuis ses débuts dans les années 2000, ce groupe captive dans le monde entier grâce à une musique et un univers narratif reposant sur sa saga The Amory Wars. Il ajoute aujourd'hui un nouveau chapitre à sa discographie avec le troisième volet de ses albums METALXS, intitulé The Father of Make Believe, et continue à évoluer entre riffs percutants, mélodies et storytelling unique. METALXS n'avait jamais eu l'occasion de rencontrer l'âme créative du groupe, le chanteur-guitariste Claudio Sanchez. C'est chose faite, alors plongeons avec lui dans l'univers singulier de COHEED and CAMBRIA, là où la musique, à la croisée des styles, rencontre la mythologie. Quel est son sentiment au moment de cette nouvelle sortie?
I feel good, and yeah, I am. It took a lot to get here. When I started writing the record, I really didn't have that in mind, I was just kind of coming out of Window of the Waking Mind, wondering how am I going to follow that up. I'm really very proud of that record, and so I was a little scared, but all the years and working and writing this material and trying to find ways to express myself that really mattered. I think now coming out of that tunnel, it's really rewarding, and I'm very excited and about what we put together.
Quels ont été les retours durant la période où les 3 singles ont été dévoilés avant la sortie de l'album?
You know, the versatility of COHEED, I think, is very much displayed in the 3 singles that we've selected. You know, we took a real swing putting out Blindside Sunny first, just because we really wanted to kind of show the audience that we were really taking some risks and kind of stepping outside of the comfort zone when it comes to selecting the songs that we're going to use as the singles. But I mean, so far so good. I mean, I think it gives a fair idea of what to kind of expect in the record, and that is basically expect the unexpected.
Cette chanson semble véhiculer un message, comme une prise de position qu'il a voulu exprimer en la choisissant comme premier single.
You know, when I wrote that song, I actually wrote that song here in Paris. I took a little writing retreat and I wrote a couple songs on the record here. One was Blindside and the other was Mary of Mercy. And honestly, when I was writing the song, it was like I realized it was the first time I had been alone in a really long time. My wife was in Italy, my son was at home in New York with his grandparents, and you know, I didn't have the entourage of COHEED and CAMBRIA, so you know, I really had this sense of truly being alone, and I was kind of playing in my head a bit. I mean, a song like Blindside Sunny, I mean, you know, when you're alone with your thoughts and all the thinking that comes with that, you know, it can cause some suffering, you know, and I think Blindside really sort of displayed that. Whereas on the other side of the spectrum, a song like Mary of Mercy very much, you know, explored my sense of longing to be with my wife and wanting that companionship back. So yeah, I mean, I think really Blindside was just a case of like being inside myself and really thinking to the point of like, you know, of suffering.
Dans son ensemble, l'album paraît marqué par l'introspection personnelle. Était-ce une intention dès le départ et pourquoi?
You know, not necessarily. I didn't have it from the beginning because, you know, again, coming out of Window of the Waking Mind, I didn't know how to follow up the record. You know, I was really just wanted to write for the sake of writing. And, you know, I had lost my uncle like during that time, and you know, his wife was widowed. And it made me realize like the same thing had sort of happened to my grandfather, where his wife had passed away and he lived about 35, 40 years of his life without her. And I started to question that, like, well, you know, I'm getting older. This is becoming a reality. Death is very real now. You know, what would life be like if I went, you know, unexpectedly, or if my wife went unexpectedly? Like, what would life look like for either of us? And you know, the questions that sort of get posed with midlife just became a part of, you know, the creative process of like, well, you know, here I am at 46 years old. What would life have been like had I not suggested the concept 25 some odd years ago? You know, how would a COHEED without the concept been sort of perceived, you know? I mean, because I created the concept 20 some odd years ago just purely out of insecurity. Like I didn't want to be the center of attention, but unfortunately being the singer in a band, you are. And the songs that I was singing about, they needed to be truthful for me, but in order for me to do that, I needed a diversion. So that's why I created the Amory Wars. So I mean, for years I've been singing songs about myself just under the umbrella of the story. But you know, now as I'm getting closer and closer to the end of it all, you know, I feel a little more courageous in just telling the real sides of these things.
La famille et les proches de Claudio occupent une place importante dans la chanson Mary of Mercy. En quoi ont-ils influencé ce parcours, notamment pendant la période Covid?
I mean, the whole thing is about family. I mean, even back to Second Stage Turbine Blade, the first record. I mean, that title of that record has no real science fiction meaning whatsoever. It was the part that my dad worked on in a blue-collar factory in New York. He worked on welding the second stage turbine blade for airplane parts. And like, characters in the story are loosely based after my parents and family members, and you know, some of the decisions the characters make, motivations, symbolism is all very relative and real to me. You know, family is a big part of all of the records, and you know, even Window of the Waking Mind, I mean, was essentially a record about, you know, parenting a child through the pandemic, you know. So all of these records are very much based after family, because family, you know, the more I think about it, just means so much to me.
Il s'agit du troisième volet de METALXS. Pourquoi avoir choisi de structurer ce projet en plusieurs parties, et que cela apporte-t-il à la musique du groupe?
So this ultimately is going to be a 5-part. You know, so we're only just halfway there. You know, for me, you know, the idea of bringing the concept into things, it's just another way for me to, or allow me to, tell the songs in a very honest way. You know, because again, initially, it was all out of insecurity. I was so, you know, uncomfortable singing my truths in these songs for people to sort of pick apart, you know? So that's kind of why I did it. And, you know, sometimes it has its effect on the compositions of the music, but for the most part, the only thing that really does is my experience, the things that I kind of go through, you know, the losses I experience, the loves that I experience. I mean, these are really the things that I'm putting into the songs. You know, the concept is really just there for the afterwards, you know, to create something a little more elaborate and fantastic for people to also grab onto. I just know how I'm going to end everything. As far as the music goes, I need to live that part of my life to write those songs. So yeah, I've got nothing yet. I mean, I'm always writing, so there is material, but I'm not thinking about a record at the moment.
Après plus de 2 décennies au sein du groupe, comment se l'était-il imaginé à ses débuts? Est-ce conforme à ce qu'il est devenu aujourd'hui?
Right, I mean, that's a good part of what Father of Make-Believe is just like, you know, I wonder sometimes, had I been courageous enough to tell my real story back then? You know, I was, you know, back then, you know, a lot of the records that I had put together then really sort of resembled my adolescent life, you know, and the characters of COHEED and CAMBRIA resembled my parents, and you know, my dad was a recovering addict, and you know, so a lot of the symbolism, the dragonfly in the story represents a syringe, and in the story, it injects COHEED, the character, and he sort of turns into a monster, and the CAMBRIA character turns into the shield, which for most of my young life, my mother sort of shielded us from the realities of the addiction. And yeah, so that I mean, for me, it's like, I wonder, like, had I just taken away the story and just basically let my truth be told in the songs, like exclusively, like, how would I have been perceived? And that's what scared me, is because, like, you know, my dad was a hero, and the way Hollywood predicts, you know, functional addicts is like different than the way I had sort of experienced it. I mean, my family was not without dysfunction, but I didn't want to villainize anyone, you know, so I didn't want anyone to, you know, I had a pretty good life. It could have been way worse. So it's like, you know, it was really good. And so for me, it's like, I wonder, would things have been perceived differently had I just kind of come out there without the guise of the comic, but the disguise of the comic. But for the most part, I'm really happy because it allowed me to explore another thing I'd always wanted to explore, which was graphic storytelling. You know, I've always been a songwriter. I've been writing songs since I was 12 years old, but I always had this dream to do something big and grandiose. And the music and my insecurities allowed me to do that. And so I guess to a degree, I mean, I'll always ask questions of what if, but for the most part, like, I mean, I have a pretty good life. You know, my wife and I, we write books together. I have a son that's waking her up at 6 o'clock in the morning playing guitar as loud as he possibly can in a Brooklyn brownstone. You know, it's pretty good. Life is pretty good. But you know, I'm a human being and I'm always gonna wonder what things could have been like. I'm also a creative person, so my imagination's gonna take me everywhere.
Comment le groupe parvient-il à évoluer au fil du temps et quelles sont justement les principales évolutions musicales apportées à travers cet album?
You know, for me, it's like I've always tried to be as open-minded as possible when it's come to music. I've never really wanted like genre to sort of pigeonhole like the sort of creative output. So for me, it's always just trying to be as open-minded as possible when it comes to like creating music, whether it falls in a genre or doesn't have a genre at all. It's I'm very open, you know. So for me, it's like I just like the versatility of COHEED and CAMBRIA because, you know, we're not just this one sort of thing. We just draw a lot into the picture.
Vous ne le savez peut-être pas, mais Claudio a une relation très particulière avec la France.
In 1998, I came and I stayed here for a month. I was visiting a girlfriend who was doing a year abroad. It's 1998. I stayed in the 3rd arrondissement. I think I may have told this story before, but the idea of the Amory Wars was created here. So in 1998, when I came here, I'm from New York. I lived in a small town outside of the city. I had never been anywhere outside of America. And so this was the first real trip I'd take. And so when I came here and I got to Charles de Gaulle, we took the train into Paris, and I came out of the metro, I saw the Metropolitan sign. And I was like, wow, I am on another planet. You know, it was so beautiful to me. It was so different. And at the time, I had just become the singer in a band, and I was having that problem of like, how am I going to deal with the attention that comes with being the singer? Like, because I had never been before. So I thought, I'm gonna create a piece of science fiction. I'm gonna create a story I can hide my life behind. Because the Amory Wars, Amory is the road I grew up on. It's called Amory Drive in New York. And so, but I was here in Paris, and so I started writing, and I wrote 2 songs off the first record. One was Time Consumer and June Song Provision. And that was it. I mean, the roots of COHEED and CAMBRIA, I mean, they started in this city, as much as that's like so wild. And I return every once in a while. I returned for the Afterman with my wife, where we sat and we wrote the story for the Afterman. And I came back for the Father of Make Believe, and I wrote the 2 songs, Blindside Sunny and Mary of Mercy here. So yeah, I have a history with the city, though I don't speak French. But I do have a very fond memories, and I find I return, a bunch because I just find it inspiring here.
Un mot sur un autre projet original. Le groupe organise depuis plusieurs années une croisière, la SS Neverender. Quel en est le concept?
The cruise, this will be the 3rd year we've been doing it. It's not, to be completely honest, when it was first brought to my attention, I was not a fan. I didn't want to do it. I never wanted to go on a cruise, but I was the only one that had the apprehensions that I did, and everybody else was very much for it. So I decided, okay, let's give it a go, and we did it the first year, and I actually really enjoyed myself. To be on the cruise ship with all of these fans that are so much invested in all the things we do, the music, the comics, you know, whatever it is, whatever extension of COHEED and CAMBRIA, to be sort of all for it. It made for such a pleasant, happy experience that now we're doing it a third time. So I'm excited. I mean, we'll see. We'll probably do it again because it's very well received.
En dehors des prochains volets du projet, d'autres plans sont-ils déjà prévus pour l'avenir?
You know, at the moment, just touring. You know, the record will come out and we'll start touring in the States, and, you know, we have a small festival we're doing in the Dominican Republic with Tool and Primus, Mastodon. So yeah, so we'll be doing that. But yeah, it's really after the record comes out, it's just the focus is touring and hopefully returning to Europe.
Jukebox fuck up hanging around the drugstore.
En décembre dernier, il a sorti Claudio Covers, un album de reprise allant de Smashing Pumpkins à The Cure, The Night Ranger à Taylor Swift. D'où lui est venue cette idée et comment a-t-il choisi les morceaux?
So some of those songs are pretty old, right? Like the Outfield cover, the Night Ranger cover. These were songs I had done like around the time of Second Stage Turbine Blade, like with a cassette 4-track. You could even hear like the tape hiss and just like you know, those are old. But the other 4 that I did, it turned out I had a week off in between 2 tours. It was like one that we had done, I think, in the States, and then we were going off to Australia. So I didn't want to get into any new material because I knew once we would leave, like that's all I would think about while I was over in Australia. So I decided to do a couple of covers, and I chose The Smiths, Cure, Taylor Swift, and Smashing Pumpkins. And I chose those 4 for reasons that were very personal to me. Like, for one, like The Smiths, you know, I know most people don't necessarily think of The Smiths when they think of COHEED and CAMBRIA, but when Morrissey delivers like his like sort of sad lyrical approach and the music kind of comes as like upbeat and almost happy, I think of like COHEED and songs like The Suffering. Like, I took a lot of influence from the way he would deliver that stuff. And then I chose Smashing Pumpkins because, you know, when that record came out, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, I was asked to paint a mural in the town I grew up in for the holiday of Halloween. And the record came out that day I was doing the painting. And so I listened to that record all day as I did the work. And that just really solidified that album as like a seasonal record for me. Like, anytime the fall happens in the year, like, I think about Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and it always gets like a listen. I chose Taylor Swift's Welcome to New York because my wife is a huge fan, and by proxy, I became a fan of that record in 1989. But I chose Welcome to New York because, you know, while the pandemic was happening, I had a lot of friends leave New York City, but my wife and I, we chose to stay and really like strengthen our roots in the city. And so I chose it as like almost a love letter for New York, because it's one of my favorite places in the world, and I'm truly lucky to be able to live there as comfortably as I do. So that's kind of why I chose that. And The Smith and the Cure, I chose that because in a weird way, that's one of the first songs I had heard a cover of before I actually heard the original. I heard the Dinosaur Jr. cover first, and it was just like, wow, it's so weird to have a relationship with a cover song before you have the relationship with the actual original. And I think that's why I chose to release this selection of covers, is because I thought maybe one day someone else would have that profound effect.
Le groupe a planifié une tournée aux États-Unis. Peut-on espérer un retour en Europe et plus particulièrement en France prochainement?
I'm hoping this year. You know, that's one of the reasons why we're out here sort of doing this press stretch, is to really try to find some sort of balance, some sort of foundation to coming back more often, and yeah, making this a real stop for when COHEED is out on the road.
Un stop, COHEED and CAMBRIA en fera au moins un au Cave Fest du Château de Gisors en juillet prochain. Seule date française à l'agenda du groupe au moment où nous parlons, mais déjà un rendez-vous de prix dans un cadre superbe. Voilà, METALXS, c'est terminé pour aujourd'hui. On se retrouve dans 15 jours pour un nouveau numéro avec toujours plus d'interviews, de surprises et de contenus inédits. Un immense merci pour votre fidélité et n'oubliez pas de prolonger l'expérience métal sur riffx.fr. Salut!